Welcome, everyone, and all great Americans out there. This week, we have a major task at hand. I'm John Tobacco. You may see me weekly on Newsmax TV on my show, The Wise Guys, where we're always fighting for faith, family, and freedom. But this week, I'm coming to you as Staten Island resident and community activist John Tobacco to talk to you a little bit about the dangers of what could happen to this city under Zohran Mamdani. Now, if you remember, going back a few years ago, we had Bill de Blasio, and I was one of the most outspoken critics in New York City, talking about how he was potentially the worst mayor we ever had. I think Zohran Mamdani has the capacity to not only surpass de Blasio's terrible administration, but actually turn around many of the gains that Eric Adams and his NYPD have made over the last 4 years. Now, a lot of people are out there talking about Curtis this and Cuomo that. None of that matters if we can't beat Zohran Mamdani. So think about a few things here. Zohran Mamdani, at the ripe old age of 33 years old, has never had a job. So think about it. He and his 28-year-old wife could potentially be moving in to Gracie Mansion as the first mayor ever with a dual passport. So think about, Zohran Mamdani is actually still a holder of a Ugandan passport and a U.S. passport, and he's going to have the keys to New York City. At the same time, for many years now, almost 25, I was at on 9/11. I was at Ground Zero myself. I worked across the street. I saw the horror. I worked for months and months downtown afterwards, and we, as New Yorkers, made a commitment to the family members and loved ones of those lost on 9/11 that we would never forget. But we are on the precipice right now of electing someone who still has a Ugandan passport, who's proudly going around New York City with one of the unindicted co-conspirators in the first World Trade Center bombing in 1993. And then, just recently on the campaign trail, had the audacity to start talking about the great horrors of 9/11 because his alleged aunt felt threatened by wearing her hijab on a train. And someone who wants to be the mayor of this city, who thinks whether or not his aunt, who turned out to be his cousin, and her feelings are more important than the thousands of Americans that died, New Yorkers, on 9/11, and more people have died from the after effects of 9/11 than the day of 9/11. So thousands and thousands of families in New York City have been promised we will never forget. And yet Zohran Mamdani is proudly going around town talking about the worst thing, that his aunt couldn't wear her hijab on a train. So, New York, I would say for starters, we promised the families and loved ones of our first responders, firemen, cops, sanitation, all those people that went to the pile and stood there for weeks and months, that no matter what happened, we would never forget. And now, not even 25 years later, we could be turning over the keys to the city to a man who wants to forget that whole era. He sympathizes with the type of people who plotted to bring down the Twin Towers and kill thousands of Americans. So think twice. 7 or 8% of New York City residents and likely voters are saying they're still undecided. Don't be undecided. Keep, if nothing else, remember, we promised we would never forget. And this guy has told us with his actions and his words that he wants to forget the whole darn thing. Now, at the same time, many of the folks that I see out there supporting Zohran Mamdani, I see their social media pages and they have the little rainbow flags up in the corner of their page. On my show, Wise Guys, we're flying the rainbow flag at all times. We don't judge people by their sexuality. But Zohran Mamdani, the holder of a Ugandan passport, has been photographed happily hanging out with a Ugandan politician who has called for life sentences in jail for people who are gay. So at the same time, when you're screaming and shouting about affordability and about how we need free groceries and we need free buses, None of these things are possible. But when I was a young man growing up in Staten Island, the son of an NYPD officer, I can tell you this. My father would say, you could judge a guy by his friends. So you take a look at what we're seeing from Zohran Mamdani, that he's hanging out with unindicted co-conspirators in bombings of the World Trade Center. At the same time, going around proudly talking about how his friends with Ugandan legislators who want to effectively kill gay people. Take a look at Zohran Mamdani's friends. And furthermore, if you think about some of the policies he's selling you, they are a bill of goods because Zohran Mamdani would have no capacity whatsoever to build affordable housing. He talks about the affordability crisis. He would have no ability whatsoever to make buses free, free transportation. If you remember, just in the last couple of years, Kathy Hochul had to go and put congestion pricing in to help raise more money for the MTA. So at the same time, Zohran Mamdani's not being honest with the voters out there when he says he'll make buses free. He may make buses free, but at the same time, the congestion pricing may be going back to $15. So think about what he can really do. Think about a 33-year-old young man who's only been elected to office as a job in life, and in attendance, he's missed 80% of his votes. So first real job, 80% absence rate, that's not the sign of someone I think should be leading New York City. And finally, I would just say this. I've been critical of Eric Adams in his 4-year administration here as mayor of New York. But the one thing that I have given him credit for, and I have to give former NYPD Chief John Schell and Deputy Mayor Kaz Daughtry, crime was out of control, with recidivism, with no cash bail. And Eric Adams, at least in my view, really reduced crime, stopped bringing back safety to our streets in some way. And Zohran Mamdani, although we're at the one of the lowest levels ever in police department, he wants to bring in this public safety. He wants to bring in this public safety squad. So if you have a disturbance or some issue at your home, a lot of the calls the NYPD gets are domestic violence calls, which they're called domestic violence because they entail violence. You may get a couple of social workers who just left a rally at Columbia University or for Black Lives Matter coming out to your house, and I don't think they're going to be well equipped like the NYPD is to keep you safe. So I'm thankful to the group for putting on this event. I want to thank all my fellow colleagues and speakers here for speaking out. I'm a proud Staten Islander. I have no intention of ever leaving, and I'm encouraging every single New Yorker to get out there and vote for anyone but Mamdani. I think many here in New York must hold our nose and vote for Andrew Cuomo because it seems like mathematically it's the only shot that we have. But at the end of all days, I know this. New York City, in my view, is the greatest city in the entire world, and I want it to start getting back to that. And we're on the right path from a crime perspective, but this guy could literally set us back to the Stone Ages. And I don't know that the divisions in New York could get worse, but it seems like with some of his policies where he said he wants to take from white people and give to minorities, and he wants to redistribute wealth and raise taxes on those of us that are successful in life. If you thought Bill de Blasio was bad, in my view, this guy is going to be a heck of a lot worse. And I would encourage you to get out there and vote like there's no tomorrow. The only way we can make up for the mathematical delta in the amount of voters they have is by supreme turnout. And we need that on Tuesday. So please get out there and vote. And stop Mamdani is the main goal at this point. Thank you.